Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for tuning in today. Our focus on this episode is about mental health, particularly among parents and children. These are the dog days of summer. Kids have been out of school for a while, and they're most likely very bored, and parents are getting ready to pull their hair out in far too many cases. My guest today is parenting coach Linn Knight, who is also a former elementary school teacher and a mother of two. Welcome, Laura. So nice to have you here. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So boredom, is boredom such a bad thing for kids? I mean, why do kids get bored in the first place?
I love that you're asking that question. I actually just wrote about this in my newsletter today because it's such a thing that we're hearing in the parent community. A lot of families, if they did choose to travel, they've done a lot of their bigger family trips, and now they're at home with their kids. Maybe some kids are doing some camps, but they're not really open in certain areas, especially where I am in California, and the capacity that parents have historically seen. And so kids are definitely feeling bored and expressing that to their parents. But what I was talking about in my newsletter today is bored isn't bad. And I think that's what us parents need to keep in mind as we're going through summer, that boredom creates opportunity for children to use imaginative play. It creates opportunities for them to use critical thinking skills. It's an opportunity for them to kind of go outside the box of what they might normally be doing. But as parents, we can help get them there, because their first inclination might be, hey, Mom, I'm bored. Let me play Nintendo.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, because a lot of parents are under the impression that it is their job as parents to make sure their kids are never bored, sort of like parents are these cruise directors and constantly providing activities and entertainment for their children. But you're saying that's not really so, that letting the kids figure out how to entertain themselves is a good thing.
Yes, we do not always have to be their chief entertainment director, although we often feel that way. And so what I do with my children and with the parents that I work with is there might be an expectation that kids just know how to go outside and entertain themselves, or they know what to do in the home. But just like we trained them to use the bathroom, and we taught them how to put their clothes on, and we did all those things when they were itty bitty little babies and toddlers, now we have an opportunity for training around what do we do when we're bored? What are some ideas? And I actually just made this with my daughter. I don't know if you can see it. These are her summer ideas. It's her summer boredom poster. I have it on my website, lauralinnknight.com, and it can be downloaded. But these are her ideas that she came up with. She can play with sand. She can listen to a book on tape. She can play with her stuffies. I love this one. She said, snuggle with a stuffy in bed. Stretch was her number 5, because she said that's really good for her body. And then the last one was art. And as you can see here, I had her draw the pictures because she just finished kindergarten. So of course she's writing the words phonetically. She might not remember what they are. So we have a little picture to go with them, and she hangs it on her wall. And then we take time to really practice that. You're feeling bored. What's a choice on your activity list? Let's pick one and try it. And that doesn't have to be set in stone. There can be fluidity to it also. So maybe one week there are choices on here that really work, and the next week we need to add some more ideas. And I'll just quickly say with that too, I'm a big fan of role playing. So even before I get to that point of, okay, you're bored, go pick something from your list, I will pretend mommy is working right now. What can you pick from your list? And we'll kind of make a game out of it, so that I'm really scaffolding it, and she's learning slowly kind of how to adopt these new behaviors. And same with my 8-year-old son.
Well, those are wonderful ideas. And it does sort of bear repeating that a lot of parents are home with children, and the parents have to work from home still. And unlike during the school year, the kids don't have any schoolwork to do. And so a lot of times parents really need, their kids to occupy themselves. And what are some ideas that kids can do that don't also create a mess?
Yeah, I know when she put art on there, I was thinking, well, that's a great one, but maybe art without paint, maybe just digging through the garage and finding some leftover office supplies and boxes. And then she can go outside and kind of pretend to be working. And same with my son, they like to emulate what we're doing. So that can be really fun to make them their own makeshift, fun home office to play with. But, as a working mom, it is really hard. And I'm at home, but my husband is out of the home for work. So it's me and both of the kids. And I do need to take phone calls. And right now I'm here getting to do this lovely interview with you. And so how I set it up with my children is just making sure that I have time throughout my day, at least in the morning and at the end of the day, to build in special time. And that's what I call it. You can call it whatever you want, but the premise is that I'm going to put all my devices down. I'm not going to have my phone. I'm not going to be working on my computer. I'm going to have one-on-one time with each of my kids and let them take the lead and how they want to play. It doesn't have to be for a really long time, but that lets them feel seen and heard and valued. And that's so much of our work as parents, is just continuing to cultivate that connection so that our children feel really supported and really stable, even when we have to step away.
Having the kids at home and trying to figure out what to do with them during the day when you've got a lot to do work-wise can be extremely stressful for the parent. Mm-hmm. And, when the kids are like, Mom, 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 I think we've all experienced that before. You really feel like you're going to go crazy, and you feel like you're going to be angry towards the kids. How do we kind of like lower the temperature, create an atmosphere of calm, an environment of serenity in the house when all that kind of stuff is going on?
Yes. Well, I'm glad it's not just my house where the kids are going, Mom, 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 Mom. And I know it's not. I say that jokingly because I hear it from parents all the time. But, my work with parents is that it starts with me. So I have to be regulated in my own space. And so when I'm hearing that mom, 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 and I need this, and maybe we came up with our plan and my child doesn't want to do anything on their plan, and I'm in that moment where I feel like I'm going to yell or I just want to get really, really mad, that's my cue to pause and to remember, this is what really helps me. If I think about my brain, this is my prefrontal cortex. Below, I have my reptilian brain. That's where my amygdala lives. That's my fight, flight, freeze. And so I'm in charge of helping myself stay up here in my prefrontal cortex, because my kids, their prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until they're 25. So we're kind of acting like that for them. And so when I have the science in mind and I know, okay, my kids can't access this part of their brain right now, I'm kind of acting as this critical thinking piece for them. I can pause. I can, for me, it's often going in the bathroom, maybe running water under my hands, going on a little walk or even if it's just in the backyard, if I can't leave my children, just something to decompress. Then I can come back. I can acknowledge their feelings, I can reconnect, and then I can redirect. And so there is some redirection that often needs to happen throughout the day when you're home and you're working. And it's just finding those moments when you can step away from what you're doing so you can help facilitate that, which isn't easy. I think we're all living in a very interesting time. It's so nice to be home and with our children, and also really challenging.
Right. Absolutely. This is fantastic advice. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with parenting coach Linn Knight. Stay tuned.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're talking with Linn Knight, parenting coach, about what to do during these days of summer when the kids are home and they're bored out of their minds and parents are ready to scream. So, Laura, can you talk about some outside of the home activities, like camps and whatnot? Are they expensive? And what about this idea of like a mother's helper, not really a babysitter, but somebody who might be old enough to sort of watch the kids in your house when you're working?
That is a great question. So yes, where I live in California in the Bay Area. And so camps can be a little bit pricey, and we've staggered them throughout the summer. So my son is signed up for 2 camps, but they're very short. And my daughter, I think, is signed up for 3. But again, there's these limited windows. So they're doing a little bit of outdoor camp, and having a mother's helper is wonderful. We have a girl down the street from our house. She's very inexpensive, and she teaches swim lessons. And I found her through the neighborhood. Also, there are kids that are down the street, like a teenager, that can come and take my child in the backyard. And so that's really helpful too, because they can be outdoors and they can have some playtime, but I'm still at home and able to get some work done. And for parents who might not be able to do any of those options, it's really nice to continue to find a pod. That's what a lot of parents did during COVID and during the pandemic, why, children weren't able to go to school, they formed pods. And so I'm still seeing a lot of that going on, where maybe a parent is part-time working or a stay-at-home mom. And so on Friday, for example, I have some more interviews, and I have a parent that's able to come over and she's going to take my children out to breakfast. So it's really just relying on the community as much as we can, which is ultimately really going to benefit our children, because our children after this past year are very much craving social interaction. And it's so important for their emotional and social well-being to continue to have that opportunity to be with other kids.
Before the pandemic, at least, parents were really into scheduling their children. They never, ever wanted them to have a moment of downtime. After school were lessons and team sports and all this. And there was a bit of a concern about overscheduling. Can you talk about the pitfalls with overscheduling and not giving your kids any downtime to just be?
Yeah, I think that leads back to what we were talking about earlier in the segment, because when kids are so overscheduled, they don't learn that really important lesson of being bored isn't bad, that it's okay to be bored. And so I've always tried, and it's really tricky. I want to empathize with the parents that do really overschedule, because I'm a parent who has scheduled less because I know the importance of letting my children be bored. I want them to just be in the backyard, digging in the mud. Not having so much in their schedule also teaches them really important skills. And I like to think of when my child knocks on the door and they're 25 years old, they're 30 years old, they're coming home for the holidays, who do I want them to be? And I want them to be able to not feel like they have to be going all the time. I want them to be comfortable being alone. And so that is a skill that we learn in childhood.
That is really great information. And so what I'm hearing is something that I experienced when my children were younger. They're grown now, but that parents tend to overschedule because they feel pressure, not from their kids, but from other parents, kind of like to keep up. And there's this bragging that goes on with the parents. And we as parents need to really just block that out. What other parents, and the Christmas letters that have all the, accomplishments of their children. We really just need to block that kind of stuff out when we decide what's best for our children, and not think about how other parents are going to judge us or our children. Well, we're going to take one more quick break and be right back with parenting coach Linn Knight. Stay tuned.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN Newswatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No spur falls, man. Come with...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Welcome back to Healthy Living. My guest is parenting coach Linn Knight, and we're talking about ways to keep sanity, good mental health in the home this summer when the kids are home from school and very bored. And so, Laura, I wanted to go back and touch on the number one go-to resource, which is the screen. When we're busy and our kids are nagging us because they're bored, we plop them down in front of the television, or if they're older, in front of their computer, and just let them go. how much screen time is okay? And what are some of the parameters that we should place around screen time regarding our kids, particularly age-appropriate amounts of screen time?
Such a wonderful question, and something that we as parents and the parents that I work with are constantly trying to work through. I know parents everywhere from no device, no screen time at all, to kind of unlimited screen time, to children that are, of course, playing too much, 11 to 12 hours a day. I think we can all agree that would be far too much screen time, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. And in my home, we do a limited amount of screen time. My children are still on the younger age, 6 and 8. So, for us, I always like to look at Common Sense Media and review what they're going to be watching ahead of time. We do a lot of PBS Kids and shows where I know that there's an educational value for my son who's getting older. And for older children, that can always be like National Geographic. And there's some really amazing shows out there that are also incredibly wonderful for learning. And so as much as parents can use the screen time also as an educational platform, that's always a really lovely idea and tool. And something we do a lot of in my home is listening to stories on tape. And both of my children love doing that, my older child especially. And it's nice because my son can be in the backyard, he can be playing basketball, but he can also be getting a little bit of that extra stimulation from time to time where he's listening to a book on tape. And then they're getting the added benefit of, developing vocabulary, again, using critical thinking skills, using their imagination. So as much as we can build screen time in a way that also feels aligned with our family's values, I think that's always the best choice. And just remembering as a parent, it's okay to say no. I remember very early on, someone told me, don't fear the tantrum. And I keep that in the back of my mind because sometimes there can be a lot of pushback of, well, these kids are playing these video games and they're doing this in that house. And, I talk to my kids very open and honestly of, these are the facts about the video games. And, it's not always good for us to be kind of getting so much dopamine. That's this feel-good part in our brain that's just kind of rushing in all the time because we cannot feel that naturally when we're doing other fun activities. And so that's why we do less screens. And my children can understand that. They can hear that to a certain extent.
So we're going to continue talking about screen time. We're going to take one final break and talk about social media and the dangers of social media, which are increasing every day, with parenting coach Linn Knight. Stay with us.
Too often we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
we know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
Stay connected with CBN News all day across our platforms.
Welcome back to Healthy Living, and we're continuing our discussion with parenting coach Linn Knight, who is also a former elementary school teacher and mother of two. And we're talking about the very serious issue now of social media for the older children. And so many predators these days, Laura, are on social media posing as children and luring kids out of the home. And it's so terrifying for parents. What's your advice regarding that?
You know, we are a no social media family. I do advise parents that social media is not necessarily in the benefit of our children. I mean, we're just seeing more and more evidence where children are not getting, they're not feeling supported within the social media community. They're having friends turn against them. There's cyberbullying going on. I mean, there's so much potential harm within the social media community that the risk does not outweigh the benefit for me. And so even in my own work, I don't promote myself on social media because I feel that I can't use a channel to promote myself where I see so many things that are detrimental to families and to the community. So for us, social media is not an option in our home. And I'm finding more and more parents are really starting to see that for their own children too.
For parents who do want to let their kids on social media, maybe just a little bit, are there some resources that you can recommend? I remember interviewing someone with the Houston Crime Stoppers, and they have a lot of information on their website about how to gear your child's social media use.
I think that's a great resource. I also think just keeping your children and small accounts, and really knowing the other families that are on social media with them, of course, not making it public, and just not letting them, even though they're older and they want to have that independence within social media, I think it's still really something that needs to be monitored by the parent.
Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. Laura, this has been great. Where can our viewers learn more about you?
You can learn more about me on my website. It's Laura Linn, Linn, Knight.com. And I have a lot of great resources, including the summer boredom poster that we talked about earlier in the segment, and other freebies for parents that are just looking for a little more parent support now and in the future. And thank you so much for having me today.
Well, it was our pleasure. Best to you. Thanks for being here. And thanks to you, viewers, for tuning in to this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. We'll see you again next time.